Geo has kindly joined me for today's video. We had a little chat. We've just finished recording the preview, and Geo said, "Hey, let's do the forum video for tomorrow now. What are we going to talk about?" So, as you'll have seen from that mighty fine clickbaitish title there, it's terrible news that Michail Antonio is out. I guess I should have known. When you hear he's going for a scan, when you hear him coming off was precautionary, when you hear that actually he's been notified by the club that even if he suspects anything, just come off the pitch, just walk off. Yeah, they seem like hollow words now, it has to be said. It looks like 4 or 5 weeks, which is absolutely terrible news, and obviously it plays into the narrative, what everybody was saying, which we didn't get striker cover. And just before we go on to the subject in hand, Gio, which is obviously about us needing Benrahma to step up and us spending all this money on this supremely talented player, I do understand David Moyes' reasoning for not wanting to spend his summer transfer budget now on a striker. If he had 2, 3 or 4 priorities, I can understand why he didn't want to go down to choice number 6 or 7. I totally get that, save the money. But what I don't get now, and what I certainly didn't understand at the time, was why he didn't just go out and get some cover in the shape of a loan signing, mate.
No, I don't get it either. Do you know something? The more I think about it, I don't get why we didn't just keep Sebastian Haller. I know that won't be popular. I know a lot of people are glad to see the back of him. But even when he was called upon us earlier in the season, he scored some crucial goals. The goal away at Sheffield United, he scored one at home to someone, I can't remember who it was, but these were goals that won us points and has contributed to where we are in the league. I can understand why the club wanted to sell him, but to sell him and not have done any sort of like due diligence into making sure that the guy that you want to come actually wants to come is just a bit baffling. And he was sold at the start of January as well, so it wasn't like a last minute panic sell where 20 million lands on the table. Do you want to sell him or not? They had time to think it through. They sold him, and you look at some loan signings around. You look, Josh Maja's gone to Fulham, got a few goals. You thought, could he have done, kind of thing. It is a bit frustrating. It is frustrating because we were sort of. The thing is, this is the Antonio injury, and this is important. Antonio injury is completely different to Declan Rice. The Declan Rice injury is bad luck, right? He's got no injury history whatsoever. Pellegrini, when Pellegrini was here, Pellegrini said Rice could play 2 games in one day and go out dancing in the evening. Like, he said he's that fit, and he is that fit, right? So I can kind of understand why the club gambled with Rice and Souček, okay? But I cannot understand why we gamble with Antonio's injury, because he gets injured all the time. Everyone knows it. It's no secret. So why we've decided that we'll chance it, it is very risky. The thing is, we were 10th. I would understand it, Gonzo, because there's nothing for us to go on and achieve. But we were 4th at the time.
No, I mean it's terrible. But we get onto this this situation now where we don't. That's happened. The horse has bolted, so to speak. So what we're going to do, because David Moyes was very keen to tell everybody that that's fine. We don't need a striker. There are other players that we can look to play there. Now, I think everybody remembers the Yarmolenko experiment. Now, he's not fit yet, and apparently he's regressed a little bit again. However, even when he was, I wasn't overly convinced by him. I didn't think he looked like a striker. I know he's played there for Ukraine and whatnot, but it didn't look like a good fit. I also think the thing with Sebastian Haller was that whilst he was there and he did score some crucial goals, and I think maybe the one you were thinking about was it Crystal Palace, quite possibly? Was it that did the overhead kick or something at Crystal Palace? It might have been that one. I got that he didn't fit into our system. He wasn't mobile enough. He wasn't doing what we want our striker to do. So David Moyes clearly had ideas. He spoke about Jesse Lingard being that guy. We've seen latterly that Jarrod Bowen has sort of played up there for a bit, as we remarked in the in a couple of videos already. He sort of played up front, then reverted back to a deeper position. So I think the thing is, Benrahma has struggled to find a position in the team. I think Jesse Lingard coming in has been a massive hindrance to Benrahma, and I've already said, and I've discussed more at length, I think if Moyes had known that he was getting Jesse Lingard, I don't think he'd have signed Benrahma. I firmly believe that. I really do. However, he's not going to get in that position. We have to use him. He's clearly massively talented. And maybe as one door closes, another one opens. I feel he needs to be used now, either as a striker or in tandem, as whatever, 2 false nines with Jesse Lingard. But up to now, he's been remarkably disappointing, Gio.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, because at the end of the day, his natural position, sort of left wing at Brentford, we don't have one now. I think it's fair to assume, I think we should assume, that we're going to play with wing backs for the remainder of the season until it goes completely wrong or something happens to Masuaku. We will probably see us playing with the wing backs this year, so Masuaku's left wing back. So then we don't have a natural left winger position. So therefore, if Benrahma's going to come on the pitch, he's going to have to go into a new position anyway, whether it's the number 10, the striker, the attacking fielder, whatever. He might have to cover for Masuaku on occasions. But at the start of the season, you thought Benrahma might replace Masuaku at times, and you were proven correct in a couple of games. You took off Masuaku and picked Benrahma. But since then, Ben Johnson's developed. Ben Johnson's now come through and said, actually, I am the second choice left wing back. And we've seen that, and we saw it against Wolves. Masuaku had to come off, he put on Ben Johnson. Now, I'm aware we were winning, so therefore he probably went with a defensive-minded player. However, given the fact that we don't have Declan Rice, I'd be very surprised if we decided to put on an attacking player at wing-back unless we are already losing. So Benrahma almost needs a position now. He needs a new position. And we've just got that little options. It's almost like he's kind of just got to go there. He's got to be the striker now, or at least play, like you said, alongside Jesse Lingard in that role up the top. We've got to use him. He's 25. He costs 25 million quid. We can't just ignore him. We've got to try something. And there's only 3 players we can use here: Lingard, Bowen, and Benrahma. That's it. We're not going to use Michail Antonio. Can't use Yarmolenko. Lanzini's always broken, and when he isn't playing, he's not really up to it. So we've got 3 options. That's it. He's literally 1/3 of the options, and the worst thing is, I'm not even convinced that this will give him an opportunity in the team. I'm still not convinced that Moyes will play him. Antonio's broken, and he will still try and do something else rather than just turn to the guy that was one of the best players in the Championship.
So do you think, I've got my own opinion on this, do you think if we were to sign Jesse Lingard permanently, that Benrahma's days would be numbered at West Ham, basically?
I think Moyes might try and use Benrahma to fund Jesse Lingard.
Oh,
I do. Honestly, if we've got 50 million to spend in the summer, right? Let's just say we've got 50 million, which is quite generous, I think. But let's just go with a generous number. If we say Jesse Lingard is 25 million, at least 25 million left for a top striker, possibly even another striker, maybe a midfielder as well. That's not going very far. So someone's leaving. Someone's going out that door. And if you were to say to David Moyes, you can sell Benrahma for 20 million, get Jesse Lingard for 25 million, do you want to do it? Done. Straight away. He would. Because he's got someone that he's struggled with all season. He's not got the best out of him. I just feel like he doesn't trust him. But Jesse Lingard, he trusts Jesse Lingard 100%. I think he'd put Jesse Lingard in goal if he had to one game. If we had no subs left, Fabianski was injured, and Jesse Lingard said, I'll go in goal, boss. I bet you Moyes would give him the gloves and say, in you go, mate, I trust you. And I think Benrahma, honestly, I think Benrahma will be sold to fund Jesse Lingard.
It does play in to the belief that it wasn't a David Moyes signing. I mean, it really does. As much as I didn't want to believe it, I didn't want to play into it. So I don't want to go over that too much, but I do wonder why, if that's the case, Moyes allowed it to be done. If that's the case, why didn't he just say, no, don't do it? So, and the funny thing is that when you look at some of the players that he's brought in, and I'll use Souček and Soufal as examples, there seems a direct opposite trend there to what happened with Haller and Felipe Anderson, which is massive loss-making signings that have cost the club and hemorrhaged an awful lot of money. And if we were to sign Benrahma, I don't even think we'd get 20 million, just because of the financial landscape of it. I think you may well be selling Benrahma for 15 or something like that, and you may well find that actually, because we've already paid the loan fee, again, it's a loss of another 10 million. And this sort of has to stop. And I don't doubt his quality. I really don't. But you do get the impression when Jesse Lingard dribbles with the ball and tries to take on. It's not like every dribble Jesse Lingard does is successful, but he does score goals and he does get assists. but you get the impression Benrahma, could try and dribble past 3 or 4 players, and there's sort of moans and groans. He's greedy. Why is he doing that? Because he hasn't got the end product yet. He hasn't gone and got the goals, even though he's got some assists. I think they need to. I'm a big fan of David Moyes, but I think he needs to actually almost swallow his pride a little bit and find something tactically as a way to include this guy. Although David Moyes, I don't know what you think, although David Moyes would probably say, well, why should I? What I've been doing is working perfectly well already.
Yeah, I think I'm not a fan of anyone that watches these videos over the transfer windows knows I'm not a fan of Moyes' transfer strategies, if you like. Not so much the players he goes and buys, but how he gets them and how long he takes to go get them frustrates me a little bit. Actually, he's playing a long game here, because in the summer, I was convinced from the start that Benrahma was a David Sullivan purchase due to the age and so on and so forth. And Moyes has certainly hinted since then, because Moyes has come out and told us, I wanted Eze. So that's basically Moyes saying, I wanted that guy and I got this guy. You can't say that, but I think sometimes you have to read between the lines of what managers say to you, because they've got to be careful, they've got to play the game a little bit, but at the same time they want to almost hint to people and say, well, I'm being stitched up a little bit here. I wanted Eze. And he's told us he wanted Eze. So why would you, if he would have had a look at all the attacking midfielders in the Championship and he's picked out Eze, he's not got him because we didn't have the funds. And then he's got Benrahma, who costs more than Eze. I can understand why Moyes is thinking, well, look, if you think I'm playing that guy, you can forget it. Because actually, if he did play Benrahma, and Benrahma was a success like Lingard has been, Sullivan would have been justified. Sullivan would have been rubbing his hands. January transfer window comes round, he's ready to start buying in players left, right and centre. Actually, because Moyes has kicked Benrahma out of the team, so to speak, come the January transfer window, Sullivan's practically said, well, you decide what to do. He's gone and got Lingard and turned around to his owner and said, that's what I do. So coming up to this summer's transfer window, I for the first time in a long time, I think Moyes will actually have complete control of this, because Sullivan has seen what happens when he gets involved, and that is, Moyes puts the player on the bench, doesn't play him, and says, well, there you go, you've just lost 10 million at the club, haven't you, because you've got involved. Don't get involved. Let me have Lingard, let me have Souček, because we now know since a few months ago, remember, we got told, what's the geezer's name? Jordan Miles? Is it Jordan Miles, the head of analytics?
Oh, that's right, yeah, the young lad. He looks like he's about 12, doesn't he?
So we've discovered recently that Moyes went to the head of analytics and said, I need a centre midfielder that covers a lot of ground, and then head of the numbers come back and said, here you go. So now we know that was a Moyes signing, because until then, I've always wondered who it was, Sullivan or Moyes, and actually there's a third guy involved here. There's a guy crunching the numbers backstage, but you have to assume that Moyes trusts him, or certainly he takes the information and goes away and looks at it and says, alright, I'm going to go with the numbers guy here because I like what I see. So actually, I think short term, Benrahma, it's a bit of a disaster really, but long term, this summer transfer window, I think we might see Moyes winning the war, actually. I think he's lost a couple of battles, but I do think he will win the war, and that is have complete control over the transfer window. And Benrahma, unfortunately, is the pawn in this game of chess.
Yeah, I think that what's important there is that Moyes' stock is high now, both in terms of what he's done in the league, the players that you just alluded to that he's brought in, plus Moyes has still not signed his contract. Now, I think he will, and I don't think he's overly using that as
he's had a 1 year extension though. He's got a 1 year automatic extension for.
Yeah, but Moyes said in the press conference, he said I think I've got a year's extension if I get something. It was so vague, like you wouldn't know. If I get 13th or something like that, and he said at the end, he said if I choose to activate it. But he said it all very friendly, but he slipped that in at the end. So I do think that's a massive point, and this is a really good thing that if Sullivan has number one lost his power because. I don't have his power to run the club. He'll continue to run the club, but he lost his power in terms of recruitment because Moyes has done so well in the league, but also lost his desire to do anything for all the reasons that you said. Actually, do you know what? I'll just leave it to this guy. I think it'll be a shame if that does happen to Benrahma, because we won't ever see the best. And I would expect Benrahma to go on somewhere else and do well, because whoever signs him will have an idea for him, will have a position for him, will have a system that he can play in. And I do hope that if that does happen, that's the end of it. Because we will unfortunately have Felipe Anderson, which is a subject for another day, to come back again. I do hope that is now the end of it, and we can just start building up for the future. Anyway, Geo, just because you've got an expensive looking T-shirt doesn't mean that doesn't mean that we don't need a little bit of help over at Hammers Chat, right?
That's correct. If you want to become a patron, you can head over to patreon.com/Hammers Chat. And I feel like we should apologise for banging on about it, but at the same time, we can't really, because we're trying to make it our job. So if we stop banging on about it, we stop getting sign-ups. And if we stop getting sign-ups, then we can't do this as our job. So we've got to keep banging on about it, unfortunately. But from £3.60 per month, just ask yourself the question, can I spare £3.60 per month to help out Hammers Chat to do this as a job? If the answer is yes, go to the link below and you get more stuff. We're not asking for £3.60 for nothing. We give you other stuff in return. The stuff that you're watching today and on the other channel will always remain free. It's always been our number one priority. And the other stuff is behind a paywall, the player ratings, opposition view, patron podcast, mug of tea with myself and Gonzo, which we'll be doing in a week or so.
Patron breakfast. We've got several different tiers of patronage, I think they call it. So go and have a look.
Go have a look.
Patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Geo, thank you very much, my friend. I think we've covered pretty much that. Although it is a story that is gonna run, my friend. Don't you reckon?
I think so. I think we might get some answers this weekend if Benrahma's involved or not, really.
Absolutely. If Benrahma starts up front,
forget this video.
Loads of goals, we'll go back and we'll delete this video and we'll pretend it never ever even got discussed. Right, we'll catch up with you tomorrow.